Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great week. I have finished the first semester of my second year of occupational therapy school, which, since I've switched to master's, means I only have one more semester, which is very, very exciting. Also a little terrifying, but very exciting. So I thought I'd just recap how my first semester of second year went. Overall, this was a very challenging semester, and I think quite a bit of that had to do with the fact that I completed this semester as a doctorate student, even though I have since switched to the master's degree program. So what that means at my school is that I completed an additional course than what the master's curriculum would have entailed. And this was a grant writing proposals class that was it was just very time consuming. At the end, we had a finished NIH grant that we had put together about our project. And each week we would write a section of it and then have people review it, and it got reviewed by I think 5 or 6 people each week, and then you have to incorporate those edits and then re-edit other people's and edit your own proposal based off of the edits that you had received. So it was extremely time consuming, and that definitely was a very difficult class, and I think everybody who took that class felt that this semester was extremely difficult, and I think a large part of that was because of this class specifically. But other than that class, I feel like the classes this year were great. I love them so much more than first year. They're for the most part, extremely applicable. We had some really great, we had some really great client interactions where we were able to literally take a client, do an initial interview with them in occupational history, do an assessment with them, and then develop an intervention plan, which I think is just so exciting, and it kind of reminds you why you're in OT school. So we were able to do that with 3 different clients throughout the semester, which was just so exciting, so amazing. And then we've also just had a lot of great lectures that are very applicable to practice. I've been able to get some volunteer time in with clients, and so overwhelmingly it's been a great semester in terms of really getting client interaction and really feeling like I'm learning things that are applicable to my occupational therapy career. The most difficult thing about this semester by far was that grant writing proposals class, but otherwise I, for the most part, really enjoyed my classes, felt like they were pretty darn applicable, and feel like I'm so much more prepared for occupational therapy school. So that was great. The way my school breaks down our courses is that we had 2 interventions classes. One was specific to sensory motor and one was specific to cognition. And I didn't really think that I would be all that into cognition when I started. I was kind of like, meh, it sounds cool, but I definitely love the sort of the more physical aspect of occupational therapy, I guess you would say. But I loved my cognition class. I don't know, our teacher's just like one of those teachers that really infects you with enthusiasm for their for their subject, so that was great. And then we got to have a live client for that. Like, one of the 3 clients that we did was part of that class, and so that was just really exciting. We got to interact with a client that had more cognitive difficulties, and it was just really interesting to kind of have to parse through like what cognitive difficulties we thought she was having and how we could sort of work with her to best, I guess, be client-centered and also improve cognition or compensate for cognitive difficulties. And it's sort of this really complex area of occupational therapy that I feel like is actually quite interesting that I didn't even consider really before. So that has been something that's really sparked my interest and that I'm definitely interested in more than I was previously. I still love sort of the more sensory motor aspect, and we had a whole class on that, and we also had a client specifically for that class as well. But I have to tell you, cognition definitely sparked my interest so much more than I thought it would. Another class we had that was just great was case-based learning, and that was just wonderful. Like, we'd get a case and we would take it from the beginning where you receive the case all the way to discharge for each case that we got, and I think we ended up doing 4, I might be wrong, but we did about 4 cases, and one of them was a live client where we actually got to go to their house and like implement these interventions and problem solve with them, and oh, it was just so exciting. It was great to kind of take a case and actually follow it through like we actually will do when we're OTs. And I don't know, I just thought there was so much great learning, so much great client interaction, and overall, all 3 of those classes were very helpful, I think, in terms of preparing us for being occupational therapists. Otherwise, we had field work this semester, which I loved. I had a video on that, and for me, it was just came at the perfect time. I really needed to kind of like get back in there and have client interaction and see how things were out in the real world and kind of remind myself why I love OT school. And so that was great. We also had a health promotions class, which is kind of interesting. At our school, I feel like they are always kind of pushing the boundaries of OT and trying to get us to think about where OT isn't that it could be. And so we feel like this class was sort of one of those classes that was getting us to think to push the boundaries a little bit more than we normally would. And so this was a very community-based class, thinking how can you work not just on an individual one-to-one basis, but how can you work with individuals actually out in the community at more of a population level, which is such a challenging way to think about OT. I think for me, most of what I've observed and what we learn about is on a one-to-one basis. So having a class that's kind of a community-based class challenges that idea, and it's difficult to think like, okay, how could we work on a larger scale with a group of people? As I mentioned in a video before, I also switched to the master's from the doctorate path this semester, so that's been a huge change, and I've had to spend a lot of time sort of reevaluating my priorities and what I want to do, and it's really exciting and also terrifying, and I really can't wait to figure out where my level 2 fieldwork is going to be. I already have one that's in an acute care hospital, so I'm kind of excited about that one, but I don't know where my second one will be yet, so that'll be exciting to find out about. I hope that any of you that are on break from occupational therapy school take this time, relax, remember why you love OT school, and get pumped up for next semester. Have a great day. Bye.